once again, and thank you for joining us for another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid. Salute to the chat. Salute to the viewership. Thank you all. Now, before we get into these topics that we're talking about, I know there's a delay somewhere in the actual podcast projection to you all in my speech or whatever. It's almost like the Kung Fu movies a little bit. We're having technical difficulties 3 times in the last 2 minutes. The links were cut for Rumble and Odyssey, and we're working on them, trying to get them back up to try so that the people on those platforms would also be able to see us. And it is crazy what we have to go through to get this stuff on the air for you all. But I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining us on another edition of the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere on God's green earth. This is your platform for empowerment. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, Rashid. There's so many topics, so many things going on today that, it is hard to just cover one. And since this is the winds of war are starting to blow stronger, we've got to talk about some issues that are leading and pushing the world closer and closer towards all-out war. And we know that the main driver in this is that fourth horse of the apocalypse. As a matter of fact, before we started the show, all right, I just Googled something. And this was like maybe 10 minutes before we started the show. And let me put in the keywords. Let me see what were the keywords. Because I'm on the picture of the thing now. I put in the keywords on Google. Let's see. What are the keywords? The 4 horsemen. That's what I put in. The 4 horsemen, right? And it gives you a description of all 4 horsemen of the revelation of the apocalypse, right? And in this, it gets down to the 4th horseman, and it says the 4th horseman. Man, what is all these pop-ups coming up? Jeez, on these pages. But anyway, it says the 4th horseman, the rider on the slickly green horse. Revelation 6, verses 7 and 8. And I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. His rider was named Death, and Hades or Hell was following close behind him. They were given power over a fourth of the earth to kill by the sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. Now stop right there. What is so meaningful about that quote right there? It's because if we look at global politics, if we look at the financial system, no nation on earth fits that description better than America. Wherever she goes, what follows her? Death, famine, war, destruction, right? Suffering. Let's just for a minute just look at this. Look at Libya. What followed America in Libya? Look at Somalia. What is following it? Look at Eritrea. Look at Ethiopia, and how America had tried to set the populations against each other, with the Tigrays against the other population. Look at what's going on in Myanmar. That is a byproduct of American imperialism. Look at the divide in Thailand, right? That is because America is trying to pull Thailand out of the sphere, its natural sphere of brotherly relations with China and Asian nations. Then we look at Pakistan. Look at the situation in Pakistan. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Syria. Look at Iraq. Look at what happened in Bolivia. Everywhere she goes, what follows her? Death and destruction, famine and all. Look at Ukraine. Okay? That gives us an idea of who this description fits, right? And what are we doing? We're being led towards an all-out Armageddon because America it has her panties in a twist, that she's no longer the most dominant power on the planet, and she refuses to share the spotlight with an equal or near peer power. It is all or nothing with her, right? Look at her policies. It is all or nothing with her. She fits the description of that 4th horsemen. That she must rule. If I can't rule, I'm killing everybody. You say, well, America would not think of nuclear war, then what the hell does she have Ohio-class submarines over in the Middle East? These nations over there don't have nuclear submarines. The only ones that have nuclear-armed submarines are a byproduct of America, which is occupied Palestine, which is Israel, and America. Syria doesn't have a nuclear sub. Iran doesn't have a nuclear sub. Iraq doesn't have a nuclear sub. Jordan doesn't have it. Egypt doesn't have it. So what do you have to park nuclear sub off of non-nuclear powered nations? That is a chest thump. That if you dare go against my wishes, I'll kill you. I have every means available to me to eradicate you from the planet. See, we have to look at things as they are and not as we want them to be. I know people say, oh, that can't be America. America would never use nuclear weapons. Well, when a person shows you who they are, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to believe them. She's used it in what? Japan, right? Not once. How many times? Twice. Is that not right? Now, you say, well, those are the only, that's the only place where she's used. That's not true. The Honorable Cynthia McKinney had been telling me that the United States had been using depleted uranium rounds and low-yield nukes in other places, but it wasn't classified as a nuclear bomb. So when a person shows you who they are, you believe them. Think about this as we look at the prepositioning of weapons and the threat of war and the constant escalation. Who is doing the escalating? Who is doing the prepositioning of the nuclear armaments? And who is prepositioning some of the most deadly and destructive weapons and arms on the planet? And whose policies is causing conflagrations, color revolutions, assassinations, right? And eventually military operations to overthrow nations. When a person shows you who they are, what are you supposed to do? Believe them, right? And our best guess from the history of what America has done and what she's continuing to do, she's showing us now. See, the curtain, the veil has been taken off. All of this democracy and his human rights and his freedom of this and his sovereignty and his territorial integrity, all of those mantras that she uses to mask her unbridled lust for war, they're coming off. Because she has not sought the freedom of the people in Eritrea, Somalia, Yemen, Iraq, all of these. Show me where she's thought about the territorial integrity of Syria. She's still occupying Syria. What about Iraq? Iraq has passed multiple resolutions demanding for the complete. Let's look at what the word complete means, okay? So that we can get an understanding of what Iraq is asking America and the Western world to do, okay? Because once we get an understanding is golden, isn't it? Here we are. All right. The word complete, according to the dictionary, it's an adjective. And it means having all the necessary or appropriate parts, often used for emphasis to the greatest extent or degree. Total. Not partial, not somewhat, not mostly, but total. It says similar. The meaning means absolute, out and out, utter, total, real, outright, downright, meaning a complete evacuation of all U.S. and so-called coalition troops from its territory. Has the United States obeyed that sovereign wish by the people of Iraq? Have they abided by the territorial integrity of the Iraqi nation? Have they listened to the democratic aspirations and wishes of the people and the government of Iraq by removing their weapons, their armaments, their warships, their warplanes, and everything else from Iraq and Iraq periphery. Huh? So if she's not done that, and then we can point to other nations around there, and then we can jump, skip, and hop to another area of the globe where she's continuing to occupy, and calling other nations that are placed in those regions as aggressive nations because they will not bow down to her occupation and her bullying, then we can get a good and a close-up look at the true intentions of America. It's common sense. If you are in your neighborhood and this person that doesn't live in your neighborhood is, every time this person is in your neighborhood, there's violence, there's war, or there's a disagreement, there's a dust up in your neighborhood, you and your neighbors are trying to get a look and say, hey, what's all the commotion? And then when you realize that every time this guy comes, and then he refuses to leave as the entire neighborhood asks, hey, listen, we don't do this. They get rowdy with you and even threatening to you because you demand peace in your neighborhood, right? You would call them aggressive, right? Why don't we do that to America? Why? Because she thinks she's exceptional. And to some extent, the people of America still believe that America is exceptional. Oh, there cannot be anything underhanded about her policies. Ask the veterans who served in the wars. Ask the veterans who have suffered under these imperial policies that they thought was benign and honest, that went overseas and was willing to give their blood and their life for. Ask them. That's all you have to do. You don't have to believe me. Ask them. You know, so listen, let's go to something real quick, and I'm going to check the chat in just a second. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Okay, so listen. Again, yesterday, the United States launched strikes in Syria. Now, I want you to understand something, man. I'm telling you, we have to break this stuff down real quick. And this is why the winds of war are starting to blow stronger. You know, again, I can't say this enough. America is suffering from coming to the realization that she cannot impose her will on the people that she once was able to. And again, I'm sorry, let me say, for Rumble and Odyssey and Twitter, thank you all for joining us also. And those of you who are viewing by YouTube, also thank you. I should have said that at the beginning, but I wanted to jump into this real quick. So listen, there's an article. It says, U.S. launches new, and then in quotations, a self-defense strike in Syria, Pentagon says. Now, let us use common sense for a minute. Let us break just that down for a minute. Again, I'll give you an example of something I said earlier on one of the previous shows. If I violate your property line and I come into your house, now mind you, before I come into your house, I send a lot of thugs to your door, and you beating back the thugs, right? And while I'm fighting the thugs that you have financed and that you've given the location to everything in my house, while I'm fighting them, you come in through the back window on the other side of the house. And now you're occupying the part of the house that has all of my valuables in, right? And I'm saying, you got to get out of here, man. And you're saying, no, I'm not getting out of here. So now my children are feeling threatened. My wife is feeling threatened. So I arm myself up to say, hey, listen, for the security of my family and my house, I got to get this guy out. So I fire upon you, or have some of my friends in the neighborhood to come and help me fire upon you to get you out back through the window you came. And you fire back at me. How in the hell is that self-defense? First of all, you came across my property line. Second of all, you violated the sanctity and security of my home by invading my house through coming through the windows without my approval or anyone in my family. And now you're occupying part of my house that has my most valuable resources there, and you're telling me that I can't do anything in this part of the house. How is that even rational? When a person breaks into your house, you have the means to dislodge them from your house to protect your family, right? If they choose to get a weapon to try to dislodge you and they fire at you to get you out of the house, if you fire back, that's not self-defense. That's attempted murder. according to the U.S. law. So why is it so different when America does the exact same thing? How can we hold her to such different standards when the world is looking and waking up and seeing the hypocrisy of America? I'm in your house robbing you. You fire at me, I fire back. The police come on the scene. The police comes in. You say, well, hell, I don't know why they fired at me. I was only on that side of the house. Well, the police say, well, how did you get in? I came in through the back window. Well, did anybody invite you? No, but I'm in there looking for, I know they had a pest control company come, but I'm looking for rodents up in there. Well, what are you doing looking for rodents? Oh, it's for the security of the whole neighborhood. So I fired back in self-defense. Do you think that argument would hold up in court? Any court. Any court. So why does America, see, I told you these people in power don't respect your intellect. Because there's no way that they would say certain things like that if they respected your intellect. That's a spit in your face. And they do it on a daily basis. That's what's crazy about it. They do it on a flipping daily basis, and you take it hook, line, and sinker. All right? Listen to what this article says. And this, I saved it. I didn't read it yesterday. I knew what was going on, but I didn't read it. I like to have these articles and read them on the spot with you. Good night. Call me when you get settled in, okay? That was my wife. She was leaving for work now. Anyway, and even though we're on live, I'm going to take time out to say goodbye to my wife or good night to my wife. You can believe that. But the article says the latest bombing run has hit a facility used by Iran-backed groups, quote unquote, the U.S. military claims. Now let's read a little bit more because we got to address this. Oh my God, we got to address this here. U.S. President Joe Biden has ordered an airstrike against a weapons depot in Syria, allegedly used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard and affiliate groups. The illegal attack marks Washington's latest response to drone and rocket attacks on its bases and unlawfully maintained in the region. Now stop. That's a lot to unpack. We don't even have to read anymore. That in itself is a lot to unpack. Now let's go back to the first sentence. The latest bombing run has hit a facility used by Iran-backed groups, the U.S. military has claimed, right? Then let's go to the next sentence because we have to go slow and break this down. U.S. President Joe Biden has ordered an airstrike against a weapons depot in Syria. Stop right there. Who gives Joe Biden the authority to order a strike in a sovereign territory? Tell me that. Who gives Joe Biden this right? I see you, Rashid. I'll bring you in a second. I see you. They finally let you in. Listen, who gives Joe Biden that right? The territorial integrity, the airspace, the land, the water over Syria is governed by the Syrian government. So who gave Joe Biden that right? And check this out. Iran, outside of Russia, is the only nation that has been legally invited into Syria to fight against the terrorists that the United States armed, trained, and financed. So listen to what it says. Joe Biden, U.S. President Joe Biden, has ordered an airstrike against a weapons depot in Syria, allegedly used by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard and affiliate groups. Stop right there. That is an act of war, not just on Syria, but on Iran, because Iran, under international law, has the right to be there because they were invited by the legitimate government of the Syrian Arab Republic. So when you bomb that on Syrian territory, that is a vicious and vile act of war against Syria, and it is a vicious and vile act of war against the guests that Syria invited in to help them deal with the menace and scourge of the terrorists that the United States armed, trained, and funded. Why isn't the media reporting it like that? Because that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It is an act of war against two nations. As a matter of fact, it's not just two nations. It's an act of war against Iran. It's an act of war against Syria, and it's an act of war against Lebanon. Why? Because Hezbollah was invited into Syria to help with that scourge of terrorism. Not just Lebanese Hezbollah, but it's also a direct act of war against Iraq, because the Iraqi Hezbollah was invited in there also. So these people love to throw out international law, but they only throw it out when it suits them. They can make it fit their belief or what they're talking about. But international, this is why it's so fickle, and this is why there's such a need for something new. Because the West continues to twist it whenever they want. Let me bring Rashid in. I'm gonna see if he heard what I said and see if he has something to say on the matter. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Rashid, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, they got you in. What do you say on the matter?
As my mentor told me, there's no such thing as international law. And I said, what? He said, they break it every day. So it's no such thing. The international law is whatever they think at the time when they saying something. If it benefits you, it's international. Or benefit you, it ain't no international law. If it benefits them, it's international law. So it's just like that UN joke. It once again, it would set up to dominate and control any non-white country. If you're non-white countries other than Russia, it wasn't there for you, and really wasn't there for Russia. You know, the people, the Nazis, them say Russia is not a non-white country. So they what they're saying is, and what they never say, believe what they say, always take their actions every time. And the actions show you that they don't care nothing about nothing. I kill 10,000 Palestinians, 100,000, 100 million. I don't care, because they're not, to them, what do they call them? They call them animals. And it shows you what kind of a people these are. It shows you the mindset of these psychopathic people that love to commit murder. And they have no feelings or remorse
Empathy.
for what they're doing. They don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was thinking about you earlier when I'm driving home right now. I was thinking about you about the as we said before, the unknown Egyptian. The Egyptians, every last Egyptian should walk around with a bag over their head. You know, like they used to have a comic over here on the Gong Show. They call themselves the Unknown Comic. Yeah. And he had a bag over his head. All that. Egypt was the one that galvanized the Arab pride under Nasser. This is what he was trying. He was the one that was going to stand up for the Arabs or the Muslim world. Get rid of Nasser and bring in that skunk Sadat, that piece of human filth. Bring in that clown, and Egypt from that point on has been nothing but a lackey of the empire. That's all they are. And the leader, how could, and these people claim to be the legacy of the prophet. What would the prophet say or do if they had a Jewish Christian organization, say for instance the UN, and it was bombing up women, children, and old people, and the rest of the so-called legacy of the prophet wasn't doing nothing? Mm-hmm. What would the prophet do if they were killing Muslims like that, thousands of them? Would he sit up and say, oh, let's go to the UN and ask them to please stop killing them? Or would he gather an army and go over there and free them people?
Or what would Jesus do? Or what would Muhammad do? What would Abraham do? What they would stand
any
up.
Prophet do?
That's right.
And you claimed in your, I'm a part of the prophet, and you're a clown. You ain't doing nothing. You're sitting back on your behind, waiting for the UN to do something with you. UN is controlled by America. Do you think that every last bomb is being shot over there come from America? Now, why would America do anything to stop what's going on over there?
And hold on. On the back of what you're saying, why would America do anything to stop that when all of the bombs are coming from America? It's apt that you say that, because as soon as you said it, I looked to the left of my computer, and in bold letters, listen to this. The headline says, "No possibility of Gaza ceasefire, Biden." So we see that there's an agenda here. I don't think the people understand exactly what is actually happening. Again, let's go back to something. I have to chime in. Rashid and I say this often. When you have ruled so absolutely for so long, it is hard for you to fathom anybody or any person outside of you ruling. And this is what is going on with America. When you see the rise of Iran, this is why they want to take Iran out. They feel that Iran has not yet hit her stride, and she is the weaker of the other powers that she with Russia and China, and they want to get rid of each power that may threaten them. And they feel like if they can get rid of Iran, they can still dominate the North African, Middle Eastern area and dominate the oil trade to keep the dollar alive, because the dollar is the life's blood of the American empire.
Isn't that the Wolfowitz doctrine? Got to keep, nobody can rise up to challenge us, right?
Yeah, that's America's. Yeah, that's America's.
That's their doctrine. That we got to keep it. One would wonder why Iran will never get a nuclear bomb. Well, how many do you have, Mr. America? I only have 500 million nuclear bombs, but why can't he get one? Because that would put him on the same level as I am. And America is not. We're talking about fair play and justice. That sure ain't America. and what, Netanyahu come from America, right? And Netanyahu said, how can America lecture us when they did the same thing, or what they did worse than what we are doing? Didn't you come over to America and depopulate the natives there and kill them all off and steal land? Well, we just doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Canada can't say nothing. None of them countries can say anything. Australia, you did the same thing that we doing, right? So
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I see you in the chat. I'm listening and I'm engaging with Rashid, and I'm looking at multiple platforms. So everybody, excuse me if you see me doing this and doing that, no problem. I'm trying to engage with everybody and trying to keep this thing going, and also trying to monitor the dashboards. Okay, so please forgive me if you see me doing this. Now, let's go back to something. Rashid was talking about America's stated policy about not to allow any nation but the stated policy is this. It's not just any nation. It is the stated policy of the United States, and they bragged about this, is not to allow not just one nation, but any nation or combination of nations to rise to a near peer power to threaten American hegemony or American power. And my thing is to throw back to the people in the chat is, why is it all right for America to dominate and rule, but it's not all right for other nations to rise up and challenge her rule? And with that said, because I want you to be talking about this in the chat, with that said, why should we want her to continue to rule when we are living in the evidence of her rulership? When there's nothing but war, a disagreement, poverty, destruction, division, disillusionment. Why would we want that to continue in perpetuity? Because common sense tells you that you would long for a change. Common sense would tell you that since there's a need for a change, change must take place. That's the very nature of the longing of change. That when there's a longing for change by the masses of the people, change is produced and brought into existence. America is trying to prevent change because change is not beneficial to her rulership. You know, you got these pimps on the street and how they play with the girls' minds, and they don't want anybody to be able to talk to their prostitutes or to have conversations because they're scared that somebody may inject something in their brain to to change their thought on their self-esteem and to move towards something better. That's what America is doing. She's pimped the world for so long. She's pimped it for so long, and she's scared that China and Russia and Iran and the BRICS are whispering into the ears of the nations that she has pillaged for so long, and she's scared that they are no longer willing to be her whores, for a lack of a better word, for her whores, that she can pimp, steal the resources, pimp the brain power of the people. She's scared that these nations are breathing self-esteem into these smaller nations and making these nations want to do better and build better and look out for their people. And this is what's causing the outrage. What say you on the matter, Rashid, before I go into the chat?
It is exactly like Niger, right? Where one puppet, one rotten puppet was sitting in there calling himself a leader when France get all of the gold, uranium, whatever Niger had, and then the people of Niger get nothing.
Nothing.
This is the type of understanding that's here. And then you are a democracy when you sit up there and let yourself get robbed and the people get nothing. But when you want to overthrow that type of a system, then he's a dictatorship. Look at it. It's a coup. Well, hell, it should have been a coup long time ago. If a government is not benefiting the people, then why should it be a government? Even over here in America, the Americans government, the people have very little to say, and the people, what they call the oligarchs or the rich people, they set the policy. Having I think all but 9 years of America's existence, she's been at war.
Yes, sir.
She is a war maker. That's what she produces. She produces war and misery. I think the scriptures say that the pale horse.
I was just talking about that. Yep.
Yeah. Wherever they go, they lead hell and misery follows wherever he goes. Isn't that America? Show me any place where America then went where it's not been a horrific murder, rape, and pillage.
Right. I'm gonna go into the chat real quick. I listen, and I'll try to go back through the chat in a few minutes, but it's just a few things that are right there on the screen that I see. So I'm not choosing anyone's message over anybody else's message. So forgive me for this. Let's see. Mehdi says salute, Rashid. Let's see. We go down a little bit. I'll come back up. It says, Flying Crocodile says, the erosion of the U.S. dollar value by inflation, already down to 2 cents from 1971 buying power, is how the central banks transfer your wealth to their shareholders, and they are ramping it up trillions now. Hey, what it is we're on a sinking ship. And what they're trying to do, they're trying to fleece the people one last time. That's what it is. On a sinking ship, and they're trying to get the last crumbs. They've taken everything else from you, and now what they're trying to do is get in your pocket and see if you got any pennies left that has lint on them or something like that, because they know it's going down.
Old cartoon is to take a guy upside down and shake him. see if you can get the last couple of cents. Well, actually, what the people don't understand, his money is worth nothing. And so if you can give somebody $100 trillion, all he does is go over there and put it on a computer. Bing! Money is something of value. I mean, a currency, rather, supposed to be a medium of exchange of something of value. Your gold, your commodity. America got none of that stuff. Only thing she got is printed up paper. And if $2-3 billion, well, he ain't doing nothing. But it's like monopoly. To tell you the truth, monopoly money is worth more than the American dollar, really, because you actually get a couple of pieces of paper in monopoly money. And here is nothing. It's cyber money. It's not worth anything. And what is going on is the rest of the world has wised up to that, and then he's doing everything he can to prolong his fall because he to tell you the truth, he really fell in 1971 when he
Yeah.
had to go off the gold standard. That was money, and it's been a long extension of double speak and the three card Molly show from that point on now. And as long as the other people around the world don't. But when they just like you always call him the Prince of Darkness, right? When the light of truth hits the Prince of Darkness, he shrieks eyes, right? And that's
Yeah.
what's happening with America.
Oh, and I want to go back. You said 71 was no, brother. 71 that was the end. We're just living in the twitching of the muscles. It was in the 60s when everything started hitting the fan. When they were taking the silver out of the coins. When they had no more silver, they had to do the one thing that they knew that if they did, it marked the end of everything. And that's when they moved the world off the gold and silver standard. And that marked the end, not just of America's economic prowess. I want the world to understand this. This did not just mark the end of America's economic prowess. The moving of America off the gold and silver standard in 71. Oh, Rashid, we lost Rashid. The moving of America, of the world off the gold and silver standard in 71 marked the end of England's power, a viable power economically and politically also, because remember, I continue to tell you, these two are one and the same. And it is not the London Gold Exchange that is tied to the New York one. It is vice versa. London Gold Exchange stands at the heart of global gold trade. The London Stock Exchange stands at the heart of global stock exchange, not the New York Stock Exchange. This is what I'm telling you. So these two are tied together. That's why if the dollar hiccups, the pound sterling coughs. Most people are not aware of these things. That's why when the United States was settling her debt from bank to bank, and they caught her, they found out that the money that they were settling it with, because they said banks and businesses settled their debt in gold, not in paper, but in gold. And they found out that the gold that they were settling the debt with was tungsten, and it was gold plated. It had like a small coating of gold around it, because tungsten has the same density and the same weight as gold. And then when they tried to blame it on the Chinese, and come to find out it was not just the United States, it was the United States and the UK. And they are starting to wipe the internet clean of this. And they did the trade. The nation started tracing back the settlement of the gold, and all of it traced back to London and America. And so they tried to put it on the Chinese, but all of these things, the United States was settling, and the UK was settling their gold, and all of, they have the barcodes and they have the numbers on it, and all of the numbers did not match the Chinese gold. It matched. The United States was making up numbers to try to settle her gold. I'm not making this stuff up. You ask Gregory Batorino, ask any of these financial pundits that know about this stuff, that saw it happening when it was happening. That's why people are so skeptical of U.S. gold. Now, they were leasing the gold out, and when it was time for some of the gold to be given in return for debt, they didn't have enough, so they started settling their debt with tungsten. It was gold-plated tungsten. I'm telling you this. So, yeah, this is what I'm saying. The fall is clear. It is absolutely clear. The fall is absolutely clear. And so I can't wait for Rashid to get back in. I know he's probably riding, and it's probably the whatever, but I can't wait for him to get back in. So let's go ascended away and said U.S. slaughtered the most high kids. They all turned I think you mean a blind eye to, and engaged in keeping their foots on the foot of our decapitated heads, but no longer. Perseverance Chameleon says the U.S. wants the rest of the world to continue to believe in its supremacy. Absolutely. Hey, mic drop moment. Boom. You know why? Because I was, man, I'm telling you, I was going to bring this up at the beginning of the show, but you said, I see you in the booth, Rashid. Hold on one second. I was going to bring this part up, but I started talking on the other stuff, and I'm glad that you brought this up so that I can address this. A1, man. A1. The U.S. wants the rest of the world to continue to believe in its supremacy. That is why her policies are not making any sense. Why would you sanction Russia when you receive oil, gas, and commodities, fertilizer, and you receive uranium, which produces 25 to 30% of all of your energy in the country? So you're saying this doesn't make sense. And then you force your allies who depend upon Russia for 40 to 60% of their energy needs to do the same thing. You say, what's going on? And then you look and you say, well, why is America destabilizing North Africa? It's not making sense because these people want to do business with you. And then you look and you say, why is she threatening nations in Latin America? And why is she threatening the African nations? Why is she over in the Middle East doing what she's doing? And then here's the kicker. You say, well, China holds the largest amount of U.S. debt. China is America's largest trade partner. China is the United States' largest investor, right? 93 to 95% of all goods come from China that are on U.S. shelves. So you say, for America to continue to provoke China, how does this make sense? It makes perfect sense when you understand the situation that America now finds herself in. She is no longer the big wig on the block. She's no longer up here and everybody else is down here. When it comes to the nations like China, Russia, and Iran, they threaten her prestige and her position. But the reason that she's lashing out is because she wants to cower other nations into believing that she still holds the reign to power. She still holds the reins to economic progress. She still controls the financial situation, the financial reins. She still holds the political reins. That is what she's doing, because that's the only way to look at this and try to make some sense. Everything else is insanity. She is trying to cower nations and buy a little more time for the empire when she knows she's weakest. Have you ever seen a boxer? And Rashid, I'll bring you in just a second. Have you ever seen a boxer or MMA fighter? And they're fighting, they're slugging it out, and they're doing pretty good, right? And they get caught. And then you'll see them get caught, and they'll stick out their tongue or do this or whatever, or they'll bag back a little bit like they're not hurt, and you'll see them protect the spot that they got hit from. And what they're trying to do is cover up that they got damaged, they got hurt, right? And so some of them become a little passive a little bit for a minute, and then they become more aggressive because they feel, hey, if I get this shot, it's better to just go all out on this, because if I get hit in this shot again, I'm going down. With this shot again, I'm going down. So I got to get aggressive. So she's been getting hit economically and politically on all sides by the BRICS nations, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, Russia independently, Iran independently, South Africa independently, and China on multiple levels independently. And now she's lashing out because she's hurt. She's wounded and she's kind of dizzy, and she's putting up a high guard. She's trying to protect the ribs from getting hit again. She's a little dizzy. So she feels like if I get aggressive and I throw a haymaker, I've done it before. I've done it multiple times. If I can just get lucky and throw a haymaker, I can stop the reset of the global economy, the reset of the global politics, the reset of the geopolitics globally. I can stop that. But it's a Hail Mary, but hell, I got to try something because I'm taking a shellacking here with these up and coming guys. That's on her mind. Let me bring Rashid in and let him have something to say on this matter. Hey, Rashid.
It's as you said before. She's been on top so long that she don't respect anybody else. What you're saying is what she's doing is showing that she's insane, but to her, China and Russia, they're my subordinates. They're not my level. I'm on top. Only thing I ever known is being the king. I'm not concerned. I have no respect for anybody that wants to come up and rival me because I am the king. When the king tells you to do something, you better do it.
Yeah.
Even if he considered what the Russia and China and all of them is dukes in his empire. And when the king wants to go and overthrow a duke, he go overthrow a duke. He puts somebody else in power, right? That's what
Good analogy.
that's exactly what he feels about anybody else as the rival. Because you know you ain't got no money. What the American money ain't worth 2 cents. You the one that ain't got no money. But in his mind, his money is worth something. When in reality, it's not worth nothing backs it. It used to be his military might backs it. Now that's waning. So what actually makes his money worth trading? Nothing. And then anytime they want, the other nations can pull a chain, and the people over in America be the peso will be the peso will be a strong currency compared to the dollar anytime they want. But he been bluffing people for many years, and even his adversaries think he's still got the king. He still got a little bit of something, even though the rest of them don't know what it is. But in his mind, and in some of them's mind, he has something.
Rashid, before we go further, I have to say this. They finally let you on the air, my brother. You finally got a link.
What it was for the last couple of times you send me your link, and you 2 hours ahead, and they would send me say like 5 something or 6 something.
Rashid. Hello. I don't think here, for those of you watching, I don't think Rashid is being tampered with by StreamYard or YouTube or any of that. I don't believe that today. I don't think Rashid is being tampered with by YouTube or StreamYard. I don't. Not today. I believe because he's driving in the car, because he had some good reception. So I believe because he's driving in the car, because that happens to me. You remember when everybody who's watching, when I do the live streams and I'm in the Walmart parking lot and I leave there and I get dropped a few times. So I believe that honestly, today, for the first time, they're not bothering Rashid. Other time, they're going to bother my good friend. They're going to bother my good friend. You can believe that. I see him back in the booth. Let me bring him back in. Then I'm going to go back down the chat, okay? Give me a second. Let me bring him in. Rashid, I don't believe they're doing this to you today. I think it's just you driving.
I don't. As I was saying before I got cut off, you would send me the link, and you 2 hours ahead. So if you 6 p.m., I would get it at 5:47 my time. The link when the show is over with. and it seems that whoever that's monitoring the show hates themselves some Rashid. I'm a nice guy. I tell the truth. Why is it so much hate up on me?
But we did something sweet today, though. We did when I did the show. I got real slick with it today to send you the link. So I'm glad you got it on the right time. Before we go further, let me go into the chat real quick because I know the time is winding down. Let me go. World War II daughter 7. What's up? How are you doing today? Says the majority of Americans are deluded or hypnotized by social media or Hollywood. Absolutely. That's a mic drop moment. Absolutely. What say you, Rashid? Address what she just said because she's absolutely 100% right.
Well, Hollywood, if you listen to Hollywood, America got the greatest military in the universe, right? All of her weapons work and stuff. And if they work so good, why they being burned up in Ukraine. All of them great. The Abrams tanks, the Leopards, all that stuff is burning in Ukraine. But if you listen to the American military, that's the way his media and stuff. He has to hype himself. What's that? What rap group of that? Don't believe the hype. What? Yeah, that's America. Don't believe that. I was talking with one of my sisters the other day, and she was telling me about the all the people that was killed over in Israel. I said, listen here, sister. They've been bombing and killing them people for 75 years. Don't you think that the people should have a reason to not want to live under that condition? Somebody come and steal your land. As a matter of fact, first of all, when they came in, the Palestinians them helped them, right?
Yeah,
And then
welcome with open arms.
and then pushed them took their house and put them in the backyard. And whenever they move, they shoot a missile at them. Not for 1 year, not for 2 years, for 75 years. Don't you think them people have a right to fight with anything? And even little boys throw rocks at them American Abrams tanks and the Jewish. I mean the Zionists, rather. That's what it is. It's not Judaism. It's Zionism.
It's Zionism, that's right.
It's Zionism. You think you better than everybody else. Before I go further, it was saying that in the newspaper it said Joe Biden is the #1 Zionist. He called himself the #1 Zionist. So why would he stop anything?
Other people.
Yeah, all of them are Zionists. All of them are Zionists, and the Zionists is only the rich people is on top. That's really what it is. It's a class warfare. the cat on the if you ain't got no money, no, you ain't a Zionist. you got billions, yeah, and you a Zionist.
Hold on, let me go.
That's exactly what it is.
Let me scroll down one second. I want to address this next one here, and then we're going to go to the next. World War II, daughter 7 says this. We stopped listening to the voice of God. Listen, World War II, daughter 7. There's an apt scripture about that. I often repeat that on this show. And because they did not like to retain God in their consciousness, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which were not sinful. And we see everything that they're doing is ungodly, and it's not sinful. And that is leading America to the abyss of nothingness, and that is leading the Western world to the abyss of nothingness. Let me go down to the next one. Hold on one second. Dorian says you can only terrorize the world for so long before they stand up for themselves. That's what Rashid was just saying. That's exactly what he was just saying. Don't you think that people have the right to defend themselves and to prevent being killed? And so let's see. Let's go to the next one. Perseverance Chameleon says the elites are fleecing everyone before bailing as the U.S. sinks. Rashid, you take that one. Look what it says. The elites are fleecing everyone before bailing as the U.S. sinks.
Yeah, a lot of the elites are leaving America. It didn't build it with them. Netanyahu has really contempt for America.
Yes, he does.
He really has contempt for all Americans. He turns his nose. They'll do whatever we say. It's like what it called the golem, the big old dumb deal. They go and do whatever we say. Sick 'em. And they go. But I was thinking about that, what you were saying earlier about God. Well, they claim to be of Jesus and do everything that Jesus said not to do.
Right.
Now, this Joe Biden clown calls himself a
Catholic.
Yeah, and supposed to be following Jesus, right? Now would Jesus go and bomb up and kill thousands of people and sit back and laugh? I mean, from what we read of Jesus' history, Jesus was for the poor man, not the, Jesus said, "Help me, not bomb him."
Yep.
So it tells you that they claim to be with Jesus, but far from Jesus. They claim him with their mouths, but their actions show one thing: that they're not. They are far from Jesus as you could get.
Yes, sir. Let's see.
Same thing with those Zionists, with Moses. Would Moses go and bomb up people like that?
Right. I gotta say, shout out. I see you, Pedro. Pedro, I'm gonna get you on the next go around. We're about to close out. I have some previous engagement. Listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for joining us on the most powerful platform with Truth Brought On anywhere across the globe. Remember, hey, check this out, everybody. Remember that next week we'll have Glenn Deason on the show. And you know, you'll be able to get to ask him questions. We will prioritize channel members' questions, and we'll prioritize the super chat questions as we get some of these things. You know, man, it takes a lot of time doing these shows. Rashid, in closing, what do you have to say?
We're entering into a time that's going to change the world. For the man that keeps his eyes open and watches as well as pray, then he's in a better position than the guy that sits around thinking he know everything and nobody can tell him nothing. Then when things turn bad, then he wants everybody to help him. But keep your eyes open, because these things we were taught that's happening is coming true. And this is a world-changing event.
A universal changing event. That's my guy, Rashid. And I'm Rashid. Join us tomorrow. We thank you all for joining us. We love you. You love truth, but know that the love we have in our hearts will always pale in comparison to the love that our God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. Thank you all for joining us.